Caste and Race in India, the book written by GS Ghurye, which is published in 1932. This is actually his dissertation thesis. Being an Indologist, he has combined historical, anthropological, and sociological perspectives to understand the caste system through textual evidences, using text on one hand and also from both structural and cultural perspectives of the other. The first two chapters identify the basic feature of caste system and analyze the nature of caste group. This chapter are largely descriptive and consider caste as it was in the 1920s. They are quite frank about the fluctuating nature of the caste and find the principles of caste and subcaste in their constraints of social life and cultural pattern, but above all in their prescriptions of endogamy. Ghurye noted the very loose affiliation of caste with the occupation, sect, and other form of differences, but emphasizes the loosenesses rather than the affiliation. He has given certain features of caste system. This all are some or the major features which he has described in his book. First, segmental division of society. Second, hierarchy. Third, restriction on feeding and social intercourse. Fourth, pollution and purity. Fifth, civil and religious disabilities and privileges of different sections. Sixth, lack of occupational choice. And the last, that is restriction on marriage. This restriction on marriage or the marriage and the kinship are the part of the nature of caste system which Ghurye has explained. In marriage, prevails or maintains some form of restrictions, and that restriction is when done on the basis of endogamy, that is strictly the caste based. You have to marry within your caste, you have to confine within your caste, you have to choose your caste occupation. And then when the next which is related to the marriage is the exogamy, that is clan, or means you can't means clan or gotra or sapinda, that you have to follow it, you have to marry outside the clan. Fine. This marriage actually shapes the social relationship which we call to be as a family or to maintain the kinship relationship. So this are the basic two nature of caste system given by the Ghurye, that is marriage and kinship. Then in the next two chapter followed or give much more emphasis on the concept of caste, and he has explained the concept of caste has been changed, and those change has been occurred in this four periods. This first is in the Vedic period, where the caste has been maintained or be followed on the basis of Varna system, which is very much Vedic, is found in the Vedic and the Brahmanic text. Second period, that is a post-Vedic period, which was dominated by the law of Aryas and the great two epics Mahabharata and Ramayana. Then we find the changes in the caste system, then the assimilation or acculturation or the moving out from the Hinduism and following Lord Buddha. So the inspirations, the change, that drastic change that we have been found in the Buddhist writing, has also put an impact in the concept of caste. And the coming up of the beginning of Christian era has also put in some changes in the concept of caste. Then the third period, what he has said about the 7th and the 18th century, that is going to be an end of the during that period. Again, the onset of Manu has written about the concept of caste, and the more specifically rigidly it has been mentioned in the Vishnu Puran. So this is some form of evolution of the caste that has been seen, and that has been followed from one period to the another period, and that is in transition phase when we think of the modern period. In a similar way, we can also see there is some form of various text which have been recombined and flowered into a more systematic tradition, where the customs and the beliefs of the contemporary Hindus that deals with the present day political and the social problems, we trying to negate and accept few things in the caste system. So this is a process. In these two chapters, he has talked about the concept of caste in these four periods. Then for Ghurye, the caste was fundamentally the product of underlying ethnic, and he calls them to be as a racial or differences that are deployed, scrambled, and re-rationalized under the conditions of continuing intercultural contact, assimilation, conflict. Ghurye's mastery of a Sanskrit inevitably led him to focus on much deeper historical roots, and for that reason, he argues that the classical writers developed the concept that would later be bound into the colonial concept of caste, principally through discussion of the four varnas, which we known to be as the Brahmin, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras. Through this complex discussion was expressed and explored a basic theory of endogamous group linked with the hierarchy of purity. But as Ghurye insists that the force of intercultural context and the geographic mobility or the occupational drift or religious change and above all of a miscegenation of a continually blurred any endogamous group that has emerged, then the principle of hierarchy or the purity and the endogamy had to be redeployed to sharpen the boundaries again. This process eventually strewed the landscape with the caste, which we known to be as a jati, and the subcaste that so confused that the British censors enumerated in the late 19th century when they decided to freeze photograph the system, and then they interpret that the snapshot within the new theory of everything has been evolved to be as an evolution. In chapter 5, 6, 7, in his book is mainly related with the relations of a caste and race, where he immediately jumps into the polemic understanding of Herbert Risley's commitment to the racial theory of origin of the caste, and side by side he has also got inclined with the J.C. Netfield, who inclined to an occupational theory. So, by using this cutting edge method, Ghurye has shown a strong race and caste correlation that exists in Hindustan, and he's given and attributes that its location at the portal where the Aryans or the Brahmanic people has entered to the subcontinent. So, closeness to this ancestral of Aryan population, he meant mainly the Brahmanic endogamy that could remain, and this is the main stronger point of Hinduism. Side by side, he also shows he talked about mainly the intermarriage, hence which actually dominated the caste system, and this features which he has actually taken from the Nesville, from the Risley, and from understanding the Brahmanic endogamy. This is some form of a diffusionism that we show a new form of a new view has been come up as a caste endogamy, and which is ideologically very important, but it is a very practical, it is very difficult to accept it. So but when we see to there's a new group of peoples creating, we can see that the intermarriage was actually growing, and which led to be rationalized and systematized, so that has been done by the Brahmanic intellectuals, and that how the marital life should be led, or how the material life should be formed. So all those practices were limited and fixed, and that has been done only with the notion of occupational rationalization. Even Ghurye view the caste to be as an inevitably dynamic, and which is rejected the deep and the almost primeval stability sought by the indeed, and it is assumed that many of the racial and occupational theories had made the caste and the race together, and there is a very strict relation between the caste and race. But when we see this book about this race and caste, he haven't talked about much of the race. So in the latter half we can see that his book has been published in the name with a new name, that is Caste and Class in India. That's why when we talk about the current situation of caste by the Ghurye, he knows well that the current reality of the caste is in the larger part a creation of the British censors. So in this insight, he anticipated later many critical theories by half of the centuries. One of the example that he has mentioned in his book, that the Punjab census officer in 1921 who noted that many were refusing to give their caste, a refusal that Middlestone took to show that the Indians were abandoning the caste altogether. So Ghurye noted that one obvious result of the census was a glorification of caste associations and aiming to change their level in hierarchy. Aboriginal seeking classification as Hindus, or Sikhs worried about their undercounting, Kohli is claiming to be as a Kohli Rajput, and so on. So this is the book of Ghurye, and thank you so much.